Another interesting fight on this card. We have Brad Tavares versus Antonio Carlos Jr. This is another one of those closer toss-up type fights. I think the odds are wrong here. I think Antonio should be the favorite, not Brad. But Jacob, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think, either one of these are worth scooping up?
This is the first fight that I chose on. And I love Antonio in this fight, kind of as you were alluding to it. One of the main reasons is Tavares he's not a finisher. I think 9 of his last 10 wins are decisions. Antonio is just a monster grappler. If he gets you on the ground, you're going to get submitted. And if you're not finishing him earlier, you're just leaving him even more opportunities and more time to get you to the ground, drag you to the ground, and you're going to get choked out. So he's got 8 submission wins. He's fighting a non-finisher. Tavares has fought some unbelievable competition. He fought Izzy. He fought Robert Whitaker, Yoel Romero. So he's going to be ready. But as a non-finisher versus a grappler, the second he's going to get a hold of your leg, he's going to get you to the ground. He's going to submit you. Antonio is the first person in my lineup this week.
Nick, you scooping anyone up? And if not, who do you think wins?
No, I'm actually not touching this fight. If you look over the record, obviously Shoeface is a very good fighter and a very good finisher. But Tavares, actually, all of his losses are versus really good strikers. So he does have that counter grappling. Obviously, he got out-wrestled by Yoel Romero. But Yoel Romero is Yoel Romero, which is a different monster when it comes to the wrestling game than Carlos. And Carlos was on bottom a lot versus Ann Heinisch, and he wasn't able to get the submission off his back. And I just don't think he has the wrestling to beat Tavares. So I will favor Tavares in this fight. And I think that he'll do it, but it will be one of those boring type, not a lot of points decisions. So I'm not going to put him on my lineup, but I do think that Tavares will win.
So essentially you're saying Tavares is definitely the better grappler, but probably won't be able to get it to ground to do it. And if he's on his back,
vice versa.
No, reverse.
Yeah.
Carlos
Antonio is the better.
I don't think he's going to be able to take Brad down and hold him down and submit. I think that Brad will sprawl and brawl, but be very selective with his strikes, fight a smart fight, and win, but not score.
Gotcha. Dan, you agree with that? I mean, we're split now. You're the you're almost the tiebreaker.
So, I mean, this is a tough one to pick. I think it's going to be a very close fight, and it's kind of a clash of styles, right? So, Antonio, we call him, he trains at ATT. His nickname's Sapato, which is Brazilian for Shoeface, I think. But anyways, the guy's got unbelievable jiu-jitsu. His wrestling is really pretty good. It looked good against Uriah Hall. He got 4 takedowns against Uriah Hall. But he did get outstruck by Uriah Hall as well. So he got jabbed a bunch. But his nose also broke in round 1 early. So I think that probably created a problem throughout the rest of the fight. But I thought Sapato won that fight. I thought he won the first and the third. So, I mean, beating Uriah Hall is no joke. So, and even in a close decision with him is no joke either. So I think Zapato's got everything it takes to win this fight. With that being said, Tavares is freaking tough. I mean, I think both of you guys said it. He's fought everybody. He's fought the who's who of the division. He's game. I wasn't able to find a lot in the videos on his takedown defense. But outside of that, he's really well-rounded. I got to assume he's got some takedown defense. So I think it's going to be a close fight. I had Zapato in my lineup, especially the value of $7,500. I think he's worth it. But I rearranged things because I just wasn't quite sure. But if I have to pick, I think he's going to take it. I think he's going to get a takedown early and win on the ground.
Yeah, I think I'm in the Carlos Jr. bucket, and only because we discussed it already. His grappling is rock solid. He's tough, and And I just think Brad Tavares is awesome. He's really tough. He had heavy hands early in his career, and for whatever reason, those sort of died off, and I don't know why. But if you look at, he's on a 2-fight skid, which isn't, doesn't always mean anything, right? Depending on who you're fighting, 2-fight loss doesn't mean anything. But, I mean, freaking Max Holloway's on a 3-fight skid going into Wednesday, and Wednesday he looked like the greatest fighter that's ever lived. But Brad Tavares on a 2-fight skid with a 1-year break between each fight. And now this is another full year. So I just think 3 fights in 3 years, I think he's set up for a 3rd loss. And, I think styles make fights. Carlos Jr. is not the greatest wrestler in the world, but I do think he pulls this off. And for $7,500, especially if you're grabbing some other big favorites, you need to fill your lineup with somebody cheap. And this is somebody that could actually do it. Not like when you knuckleheads drafted Roxanne the other week and she scored 20 points. I think he will actually pull this off and can flip it on its head.
I think he's a very good value pick, to be honest. I was thinking too, it could end up being one of those fights where he gets some takedowns, but Tavares, being as game as he is, scrambles up, and then it's going back and forth from takedowns to slugfest, and it gets ugly in the 3rd round. But those fights end up being a lot of points. For $7,500, win or lose, you get one of those fights, it's worth the value.
Well, and keep in mind what's always interesting with like a Khabib, his wrestling style. Obviously, he scores a ton of DraftKings points because he stops everybody, but his wrestling style isn't great for DraftKings because he takes you down and you stay there.
Right.
Where a decent wrestler that has great takedowns but not phenomenal control is awesome because he takes you down 5 points. You stand up, he takes you down again, 5 more points. So more takedowns is better than taking down and keeping you down. And a mediocre wrestler will do that. So we'll see what happens here. It looks like it's 3 against 1, Nikki. We'll see what we'll see what happens here.
We'll see.